What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We have a lot of buffs, we have some nerfs, we have some quality of life updates to talk about, but we also are getting a new legendary event for new characters starting next month. We're going to break down who that is, who you're going to need, and talk a little bit about who you can start farming for that event right now. But today in the Discord server for Dragon Champions, Emerald Dragon dropped pretty much all of the update notes for what we're going to be getting this sometime this week. It's going to be a whole new update, and it's getting a lot of stuff with it. So what's new? They are changing the power calculation formula for stars, meaning that towers are going to become easier. So probably star levels are going to give more power or take away power. Not really sure what their formula is for that. We're getting a new hero called Dieselrog, which is going to be an orc but has goblin and orc synergies. New legendary event, which we'll talk about. New tournaments, we don't know what they are yet. They will no longer be giving us 2 at a time. We had that with the Wonder Lula stuff, where you had like the Calrian and the Robin Bad tournaments at the same time as other tournaments, and it really kind of overloaded players. And we're going to be getting another hero from tournaments. Don't know who that is yet either. New offers for ability scrolls, finally. Thank God. This has been the biggest pain for a lot of players, is that there's just not a good amount of ability scrolls. So they will be adding some ability scroll offers. Hopefully we get some other ways to get more ability scrolls, or the event to obtain the scrolls comes around more often. We are going to be getting favorite marks for locked heroes. That way we can lock them and favorite them, so that once they are farmable, they're already up there. Last open chat channel will be saved when you enter the game once again. Finally, every time you enter the game, you're not going to get automatically thrown into global chat, the nasty cancer that global chat is sometimes. So that is a very, very welcome change. The fixing problems where they can't buy purchases after failing transactions, memory optimization when the game sometimes crashes, fixed bugs with game freezes when raid bosses summon their guards, and a bunch of different bug fixes and improvements. So they're trying to help smooth out the experience. I know for me personally, sometimes the game will freeze when I get to the 79 or 80% loading screen, and that gets kind of annoying, especially when I'm fighting tournaments, because then that's calculated as a loss. So they are going to be giving some improvements there, help the game load easier, help kind of get rid of those crashes. So very welcome changes there. And then they gave us the kit for Dieselrog, the new character that's coming. His first ability, his basic, is called Cyber Punch. Deals 240% of physical damage to an enemy. If this blow lands a critical hit, remove 2 buffs from the enemy for each living goblin on the team. So probably a good idea to throw some goblins on the team with him, because that could be a really, really helpful thing. And also probably going to be very helpful in phase 1 as well. BFG is his second ability. His cooldown is initial cooldown of 2, regular cooldown of 3. Deals 210% of physical damage to all enemies, 70% chance to inflict an armor decrease for 2 turns. Add fuel, initial cooldown of 2, regular cooldown of 4. Gains an accuracy increase and damage increase for 2 turns. Removes 15% of the turn meter for each living orc in the team. If there are allied old lords on the battlefield, he gets the same amount of turn meter and damage increase. And if there are any enemy Darians on the field, Dieselrog gains cheat death and debuff immunity for 2 turns. And then his passive ability, Dieselrog gains a 10% physical damage increase for each living orc on the team, and 10% crit increase for each living goblin on the team. So this guy is going to be very good for phase 1. He has the ability to remove turn meter, which is great, and then he also gets the ability to gain buffs like cheat death and debuff immunity if there's an enemy Darien on the enemy team. So just like phase 1, where Solius summons an enemy Darien. And then he is able to recover 15% of his turn meter for each living orc on the team. Old Lord gets the same thing. So there are some decent goblin and orc synergies here. This guy is going to be very good for phase 1, I have a feeling. We'll test it out once we finally get him unlocked in the game. Now, then we get to this with some buffs and some nerfs, some bug fixes. Counterattacks and assist attacks will now deal 50% of the normal damage ability, was 75%. This one, I know a lot of people are not going to be too happy about this. I know I initially told the devs that that kind of nerfs the whole Solius Nightingale combo, and the reason for reducing the damage on assisted attacks is that that is going to be because of General Murdoch down the road with goblins, is that if they don't put this nerf in now, they're afraid that General Murdoch and the goblins are going to be way too strong. So they're putting this in now to help get ready for General Murdoch whenever he arrives in the game. Counterattacks, that is going to be a pretty significant nerf to Tromgar. And, you know, talking to people, they really rely on Tromgar for their stuff, but Tromgar is supposed to be a tank. He's not supposed to be a damage dealer, and the fact that he has a 35% chance to stun on his basics with these decent damage dealing counterattacks, it allows him to usually solo like 3 or 4 enemies on the team. So they kind of need to deal back his damage a little bit. There's not many characters that can counter in the game right now. It's mostly just focused on Tromgar and nerfing him. And then here you go, dodge increase has now been nerfed to 20% from 30%. Yes, Kinley is going to be getting a nerf here, which is very much needed because Kinley is just an absolutely aggravating tank to fight. Darien is getting a dodge nerf, Hera, Foul, and Buff all getting nerfs with this. Accuracy increases now give 20% accuracy instead of 30. This is really just to help make it counter the dodge increases. They're not going to make it go overboard. So they brought down accuracy to match it with the amount of dodge that we're getting with that buff now. Humans, Soleus, his leadership ability is now being fixed where all humans gain the counterattack bonus. It was just him with the bonus where only he was getting the 10% per human ally. Now all human allies are going to get that counterattack bonus. Cruel, they are still fixing her, fixed a bug where the game crashes if a reflection called someone else, and then fixed a bug where this ability was not being used in auto battle. Apparently on defense, she doesn't really call the reflection, so they are now making her call the reflection on defense and in auto. Darien, his basic ability, Hero's Blow, is getting a buff. It's going to be increased from 235 to 260 bonus damage if the target is an orc. Nightiel, her passive ability is finally going to be dispelling buffs from the enemy team. This has been one that I have been driven nuts about because she will dispel buffs from herself. In fact, it's why I haven't upgraded her final ability, because she would just dispel 2 buffs from herself instead of 1 buff. So she can give herself attack up, and then in the beginning of her next turn, she would just remove attack up, and it would just make her use. It would really just kind of waste that turn. So that one is a very welcome change. Kelrian is getting a buff with his glaive throw ability, is now going to inflict armor decrease instead of 75% chance. Wonder Lula, she's getting 10% additional health from levels and stars, and her base speed has been reduced by 5. The health gain is very welcome. She's very squishy, and it's also going to help kind of bring her basic ability into balance at the same time. The base speed, she was just a very, very fast character, and with that, she was able to basically one-shot a lot of characters with her basic at the beginning of the fight. So this is going to be a pretty welcome change for a lot of players. The basic ability, it is being fixed. She was dealing 2.5 times the damage she was supposed to be dealing with the basic. So that was part of the problem with her one-shotting characters. It has also been nerfed in the total damage amounts. 180% down from 220, and then if the target has more health left than Lula, it's going down from 300% to 225%. Pretty significant nerf here. And then her second ability, the piercing shot, the one that ignores shields on the enemy target, they're increasing the initial cooldown from 2 to 3 turns, and then they're also getting a pretty heavy nerf on it, dropping the damage from 390% down to 300%. And then, of course, half this damage from this attack penetrates shields, was a full penetration of shields, guaranteed to deal a critical hit while invisible. And then her passive ability, Demonic Scourge, she gets a 20% physical damage increase, and then 7% for each living demon in the enemy's party. It was 25% for each living demon. That is a heck of a nerf. That's, I don't know, that seems a little too reactionary to me. They say that, you know, she's still going to be one of the most powerful damage dealers in the game. She's a glass cannon. She could kill enemies one blow. We want to avoid this because it breaks balance between characters. I have a feeling the problem for me is I think they're nerfing her way too much. And this is why I told him, like, I'm going to have to see this in action before I can say whether I like this or not. Initially, not a big fan of it. That 7% instead of 25% for each living demon, that's a significant damage nerf to her. And I'm not sure I can get on board with that. we'll see how it goes. I mean, her basic and her special ability were already getting significant nerfs. To nerf her passive like that too could really hurt her viability. So we'll see how she does post nerf. Now, some other nerfs and fixes. Patriarch Chi, his healing ability or his leadership ability getting nerfed from 50% to 45% of the healing spells applying shield to the allies. His shield restoration from attacks still staying the same. Ember, she is getting a nerf, her meteor ability dropping from 450 to 400%. Brantha is getting a fix where her lead was dropping bonuses on all allies rather than just what their races were. So like an orc could get all the bonuses for orcs, pride, goblins, everything. Battle Crew is getting a pretty decent nerf, or a pretty decent buff here. His basic ability is going from 100% to 150% physical damage. Adam is getting a buff here. His basic ability is going from 60% to 80% of physical damage to all enemies. 40% chance to inflict a damage decrease for 2 turns was 30%. So he's going to be a bit better of a tank. He's going to deal more damage, and he has a better chance of inflicting damage decrease. So that's going to make him quite a bit more powerful. Bori is getting a buff as well, or sorry, a nerf as well. His basic ability is dropping from 250 to 200% of physical damage to an enemy. And then his wounding arrow ability is getting an increase on the cooldowns and dropping that damage as well. 420% down to 300%. Applies 2 stacks of bleeding for 2 turns. This was mostly because in challenges, when you run to a team of a lot of Boris, they can just destroy your whole team. So the nerf here for Bori is not for so much game balance in the future when we get him, but to make challenge and events where you fight Bori much more manageable, because he could just destroy your whole team very quickly. So some interesting nerfs and buffs to characters here. This is going to be very interesting to see what they do with this. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the legendary event and who you're going to need for that. So Ember is going to be the next legendary event in the game. Her event, I believe, starts December 5th, so you will have time to start farming the characters needed to unlock her. She is going to be a very powerful damage dealer for pandas. Pandas are a pretty solid team, but their damage is kind of lacking. Ember is going to make up for this. She deals a lot of damage. She has a lot of synergies with Burn. She can deal a lot of damage to burned enemies, and she can also stun targets. This is the ability that's getting nerfed. She can stun, she can burn. She is going to be able to also remove buffs from the enemy team, and she also gains health regen for each burning stack on an enemy. She's going to be a pretty solid damage dealer. Devs, I believe, have said that she's the second best damage dealer in the game, so she is going to be very powerful, so, you know, just be ready for that. Now, who are you going to need to get Ember? Well, you're going to need elves, and this is where the pain is going to come in for a lot of players. We have 6 elves right now, and we're going to go ahead and discard one to Lula, because unless you got her in tournaments, probably not going to be able to get her for this. I'm asking the devs if they can make her farmable, and they're thinking about it. Hopefully they do make her farmable for this event for Ember. So that leaves you with 5 elves: Nightiel, Illyria, Kelrian, Sharp, and Senjil. Some of these elves are just not good. Senjil's a terrible healer. Kelrian's okay. Sharp is okay. Illyria and Nightiel are really the only reliable elves here for this. And the nice thing is, some of these elves you can farm in different shops. Illyria, you can get her from the guild store. Sharp is from Arena, and I believe Senjil is from Arena as well. Yes. So Senjil and Sharp, you can both get them from Arena. I recommend you spend your Arena currency on Senjil first, because his hard nodes for farming are a little bit more out of reach than Sharp's. Sharp, you can start farming him pretty early on in hard nodes. You see here, Rage of the Clans 2-6 and Dawn of the Order 1-9. He's one of the first characters you can farm in those nodes. So Sharp, you do automatically get him at 1 star, I believe, at the start of the game. He's going to be a very easy farm, so then spend your Arena currency on Senjil, spend your guild currency on Illyria, and then you get to Kelrian and a Nightiel. Kelrian is about middle of the pack with the nodes farming, so he's going to be manageable for most players who are going to be able to unlock Ember anyways. The real pain here comes with Nightiel, and this is, I'm not going to sugarcoat, guys, this farm is going to suck. Why? because she is in some of the last nodes that you fight in the campaign. She's in Invasion of the Demons 4-6, which is the last chapter of Invasion of the Demons, and that's when you have to be level 73, 74, that's when you're fighting enemies of those levels, and Rage of the Clans 812, the final node in the Rage of the Clans campaign. Nightiel is going to be a very, very difficult farm. This is not going to be a fun one for a lot of players. I don't know. I'm not excited for that farm for a lot of players. That's really going to be a tough one. And I mean, it's not that she's bad. It's just that that's very hard for a lot of players to get to. I mean, pretty much your Dolphins who started the game on the release day, they're going to struggle probably to get Nightiel. If you're free to play, probably not going to get Ember this time. I don't think that she is going to be obtainable for a lot of players, which is fine because that's how Legendary should be. I mean, not everybody should be able to get a Legendary character the first time, but Nightiel is just a very, very difficult farm. I would love to see her get moved into stores. So we'll do a video later on. This video has gone on for quite a while. We'll do a video later on talking about what to prioritize for your elves, what abilities to focus on first, and we'll just kind of break that down in another video later on. So just talking real quick about who the next legendary is, who you need to start farming right now for them, because you got 3 weeks, and yeah, you've got a bit of a path ahead of you for farming some of these characters. So let me know down below in the comments, what do you guys think about the nerfs, the buffs, the updates? What do you think about Ember and this legendary and the farm for your elves? Let me know down below in the comments, guys. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I will talk to you guys later.